welcome back to TC3 Kids. I'm your host, Pastor Andy. And you like my jacket? Isn't it awesome? It's pretty cool. I'm still, even though Christmas is already passed, guys, I'm still celebrating Christmas. And I'm celebrating Christmas the only way I know how to. Going all out. Yeah, I know you're jealous. You wish you had a jacket like this. This is awesome. Guys, even though Christmas is gone, come and gone, the day has, we're still celebrating here in TC3 Kids the Christmas season. As we're getting lit up, we're lighting it up all month long, getting into understanding what the real Christmas season is all about. Hey, you know what? Okay, I can only be serious for so long. It's time to get a little bit energized. We're going to play a little game at home. I want to show you guys a video at home. And there's going to be, it's called What is Different? Which one's different? There's going to be 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 items that you have to look at, and you have to look at them, and one of them is going to be a little bit different than the others. So you have to guess which one, or not guess, but you have to pay attention because you're only going to get a few seconds. Try to be the first person to see which one is different. Now, if you can do that, then you're the winner of that round. All right? So good luck. Pay attention. Ready? Light it up. So how'd you do? Were you able to find all the items that were a little bit different before time ran out? I hope you did. But you know what? It's time to get into our Bible lesson as we get ready to finish up our Light It Up series. Before we do that, though, we have to remember what we're doing. Hey, kids, what are we doing at home? Do you remember? Oh, that's right. We're reading our Bible in a year. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to be done here at the end of the 2020 year, but we're going to continue on as we go into January. But we're reading our Bible in a year. We're going through a Bible from the beginning of the Bible to the end of the Bible, reading it in order so that we don't skip any of those steps that God takes to grow his people so we can see how he grows us in our lives. Oh, yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's amazing. And let's review real quick where we've been so far. In our Light Up series, in week number 1, we talked about 2 people called Zachariah and Elizabeth. Now, Zachariah and Elizabeth were old people who didn't have any children. But God sent the angel Gabriel to them and said that you are going to have a very important child. And he blessed them. And so God gives these amazing gifts even out of nowhere. It's awesome, isn't it? In week number 2, we talked about the child that they gave birth to, John the Baptist. And John the Baptist had a very important purpose in life, didn't he? His purpose in life was to prepare the hearts of men and women all over the world for what was still to come. Even though John was super, super important, he was nowhere near as important as what we talked about last week in week number 3, how Jesus is born. That's right, the Son of God. Jesus is the greatest gift that we could ever have, isn't he? He is the most amazing, ultimate, epic gift that we could ever have in our lives. Yeah, Jesus was born. Well, today, we get to move on into our next part of the series here. And today we're going to hear the story about the three wise men. Yeah, maybe you've heard this part of the story before, but maybe there's something in here you don't know. Maybe you know what these guys do. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Before we get to that, let's try your baby skills. Now, if you know anything about babies, maybe you'll pass this little test I have. All right, I want to ask you a question here. Now, let me ask you a question here. Which one is a better baby gift? Okay, so let's wait. Which one's a better baby gift? Is it going to be a onesie or is it going to be a spacesuit? Well, of course, for a baby, a spacesuit. I don't know how you justify that as an answer, but oh well. Yeah, of course, the onesie. What about food? Let's look at food here for a second. Okay, for food, which is a better baby gift? You ready? Is it milk or soda? Well, I don't think it takes a real rocket scientist to figure that one out, does it? No, of course, milk. You want to give a baby soda. I mean, can you imagine if you gave a baby some Coca-Cola and it just went, pew, 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 and all bouncing all over the place? It would be bad. So just give some milk. Make it strong and healthy, right? Yeah. Now, let's do one more. Which one is a better baby gift? A baby rattle or a rattlesnake? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, don't give a rattlesnake to the baby, okay? Make sure you don't do that. So, of course, a baby rattle's a better gift for a baby. Now, we're going to talk about some gifts today. Now, as we get into this week here, we look at the series here about the 3 wise men here in Light It Up. We're going to talk about our 3 wise men. But I got to back it up a little bit. You see, what happened was there was a bunch of guys who were really, really smart. And they were actually called Magi. M-A-G-I is how you spell it, Magi. Looks like magic, but without the C in it. Magi were amazing men. And these guys were guys who basically paid attention to life. They looked around and they paid attention to all the things that were going on. They looked at historical books and scrolls, and then they paid attention to the land, they paid attention to the stars in the sky, and they paid attention to what was going on, because what they were able to do is look at maybe things that are to come. And these magi were, they were studying, and they were looking through some old scrolls, and they were reading it, and they realized something. They were looking at it, and they were aligning it, and they were staring at something, and they realized something very unusual. They were looking at something. What were they looking at? I wonder. Oh, you know what? Hey, we have some clues here, don't we? We have our little clue boxes here. So let's light up an answer, a clue to what we think that these magi were staring at. I wonder, what were they staring at? Well, let's see here. Let's light up a clue. What would they be staring at? What would they be looking at? Something up high. Well, what's up high they would be staring at? Oh yeah, a star. That's right. They were looking at the stars, and one star in particular they were staring at was really peculiar to them. They looked at it and studied it, and for a long time they realized, we've seen that before. And they went back in the studies, and they found that this star actually meant that it was a sign that somebody important was being born. And if we follow that star, we can go to that important baby and see what this is all about. And we can go and just observe and be a part of this amazing part of life. Yeah. And so these magi, or we call them wise men, all right, they had to follow the stars, and they had to travel a very long time. By the way, 800 to 900 miles before cars, before planes, all right? They had to travel. They got on their camels, and they started to travel. They started to travel all the way down to the city that they studied, a city called Bethlehem. Where did we hear Bethlehem from? Oh, that was last week. That's the city there where Jesus was born. Now, these magi, as they got closer to Bethlehem, they got into the land. They had to go, and they went into the land. They had to get permission to be visiting in this land, and they had to visit somebody. Well, who do you think they had to visit? Who would be somebody very important that you had to visit? Oh, you know what? Let's light up another clue. Let's light up another clue and figure out who did these magi have to go and visit before they went to go see this important baby. Who would be so important that you have to stop everything and get permission and talk to him? Of course, it would be the king of the land. the person who was the overseer of all the land. That's right. The king of the land was the one that you'd have to get permission from. All right. So they went through and they had this king. His name was King Herod. Now, this King Herod was a little bit of a tricky guy. You see, the Magi went to him, and they went to King Herod, and they said, hey, King Herod, and you can read this in Matthew chapter 2. And they went to him, and they said, hey, King Herod. Herod called the Magi secretly because he found out about the exact time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem. He said, go and make careful search for this child. As soon as you find him, I want you to report back to me so that I may go and pay homage and report back and worship this baby. You see, here's the thing. King Herod, he heard something. He heard the rumors. He heard that a baby was born. And then he heard that this baby was going to be the actual King of Kings. The King of Kings? Wait a minute. You mean that this King of Kings is going to be bigger and better than me? How do you think the king handled that? How do you think he felt like that he should handle that as a king? Let's look at one more clue here. Let's look at another clue here. Our clue box number 3. How do you think a king would feel if he found out that there is another king being born? And that this king may be the King of Kings, the king that would unseat all the kings in the world, be the most powerful king in the world. Well, for King Herod, he didn't like that at all. And so he sort of put on this fake smile. King Herod's like, yes, go and find this baby so that I may worship the child as well. There's a problem with that, though. The problem is this. You see, that baby that King Herod wanted to worship, he didn't want to just worship him. You see, King Herod wanted to destroy the baby. He wanted to take baby Jesus and he wanted to destroy him because he was scared that this baby was going to steal his throne, take his crown, or remove him from power. A baby? He was scared of a baby? So he sent the Magi out to go find this baby. And he said, when you find them, come back to me so that I may worship this king myself. The Magi went on their way. The Magi, and by the way, they went down there and they brought things to the baby. They brought different gifts. What do you think some of those gifts would have been? What are some baby gifts? Let's open up our very last clue here. Let's light up our very last clue. I wonder, what is something that you would give to a baby? What is something you would give to a baby? And not just any baby. The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the one who is going to be the I Am, the Son of God. What would you give him? Well, you would give him the greatest treasures you could find, right? The absolute greatest treasures that you could ever have. Now, I know that we all have the story here about, you hear the song about, we three kings of Orient are. Well, I'm going to throw a little factoid at you. We don't know how many magi there were, and they really weren't kings. They were wise men. And these wise men, these magi, brought 3 gifts. That's where we say sometimes there was 3 wise men. We really don't know how many there were. But we do know what they brought. The Bible tells us that the Magi brought 3 gifts. They brought, number 1, they brought gold. They brought treasure of gold, and they presented gold. Can you imagine Mary and Joseph getting like a little chest of gold? That's pretty awesome. And Mary and Joseph were just sort of nobody people. And God picked them, and the Magi said, we need to honor them with some of our best gifts, don't we? And then they brought frankincense. Frankincense is sort of it's like a perfume. It's a really, really, really expensive perfume. And that perfume was used to usually for burial purposes, so it's saved, so it would like preserve and get better over time. And this frankincense was very expensive. But it's an honor to have something like that. And then finally, they were given what's called myrrh. myrrh are like these little rock type things that what you do is you light it on fire. You light them. No, I'm not going to light these on fire, but you light them on fire, and they give out this very sweet aroma. It's like if you go to Bath and Body Works and you buy one of those a Yankee candle company, and you buy those 3-wick candles and it fills the whole room. Imagine that, but even stronger. Imagine aroma even stronger and more enticing. Those were very, very, very expensive gifts. That's pretty awesome. I love it. I love the idea of these magi. They brought their best gifts that they could bring to the baby Jesus. They brought their absolute best. Now, they also got word. You see, as they went to and they presented the gifts to Jesus, you read a little bit further here in Matthew chapter 2. On coming to the house, they saw the child with the mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshiped him. They opened their treasures and presented him the gifts of gold, incense, and frankincense, and myrrh. And then, having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. That's right. You see, God protected them. God warned that the Magi should not go back to the king, and they should not go to him because they know that this king has some really bad, evil intentions. And so they went home a different way. It might have taken a little bit longer to get home that way, but they protected the baby. You see, God's got it all in control, doesn't he? God's got an amazing control on everything that's going on in this life. So we need to remember that, don't we? But you know what? Let's remember what our bottom line is today. We're going to tell you what this week is all about. We're going to put this on screen. I want you to read this with me as you read it at home. Here it is. Our bottom line today, what we want you to remember is that Jesus is the King of Kings and worthy of our worship. One more time, we need to celebrate Jesus. And we're going to celebrate Jesus with reading our power verse. Our power verse this month is John 3:16. Isn't this great? I love this power verse. It's probably the most powerful, most amazing, wonderful present that God could ever give us is John 3:16. So we're going to put this on screen right now, and you guys get to read this at home. Are you ready for this? Stand to your feet. Stand up. Go ahead. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. Anyone who believes in him will not die but have eternal life. John 3:16. Hey everybody, I pray that your new year coming up here is amazing. I pray that 2021 is going to be some of the best stuff you ever gone through in life. And you know, the best way to make sure that happens is make sure that Jesus is in your heart. So, if you have Jesus in your heart, awesome. Go out and share it. Make that your goal in 2021. Make sure you go out and share this greatest gift ever. If you have any questions about that, you can email me, andy@tc3.church, and I'd love to talk to you and walk you through the steps and maybe give you some courage and confidence in how you can have the greatest gift ever, forever. In the meantime, guys, I'm praying for you all. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful new year. Until next time, I'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.